Hi, I'm Susan Finco.
Hi, I'm Allison Barnes.
Thanks for joining us today for our breakout session from this conference. We're with Leonard and Finco Public Relations, and Leonard and Finco specializes in online, social, digital, and traditional media, as well as issues management, stakeholder outreach, image campaigns, and crisis management. We're here today to talk about social media advertising, and we have clients throughout North America, predominantly Midwestern based, a lot of M&A firms, professional services firms. So we know the world you're coming from and we know what you want to accomplish. Hopefully today we can help you get even better results with your social media advertising, in particular, two platforms that we'll be talking about. Now, we're going to cover three main areas. Why social ads, Facebook ads, and LinkedIn ads. And you may ask, why are you limiting it to just these two things? Well, one thing for sure, we only have a short amount of time, so we can't cram it all in. So we took the two that we thought would be best for the audience today. Facebook, I have three words for you as to why you should be doing Facebook advertising. World's largest platform. They have more people on Facebook than any other social media platform in the world.
And if you had to pick two words for why LinkedIn, that would be business community. If you're in the business world, you should be on LinkedIn, so that's where you should be marketing to.
So I'm going to tackle Facebook first. Why Facebook? Well, the fastest growing demographic on Facebook is 65 plus. And for those of you in the M&A world, that's a prime target for people looking to sell businesses. Plus, it's the sheer numbers of people who are on Facebook worldwide, in the US, plus people that are on Facebook each and every day. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how to make the most of your Facebook ads. Now, with Facebook, there's a lot of things you can accomplish with advertising. There's a lot of different purposes, a lot of goals you can have. Predominantly what we see is clients that want to advertise to expand and enhance their brand. They want to grow their brand. They want people to know who they are. They want to showcase their community and business involvement. It's a great way to attract and retain employees, to give them a sense of pride. It's also a good way to let people know that you might be looking to add to your staff. Maybe you want to tout awards or an engagement that you have that you wanted other people to know. So it's a great platform for those kinds of ads. And it works really well in conjunction with LinkedIn. They kind of are both ends of the spectrum, and they work well together. Now, when we talk about Facebook ads, you've probably heard about boosted posts versus ads. What's the difference between those? And really, to the viewer or the user of Facebook, it doesn't look any different. What they see says sponsored. It's still an ad of sorts, but there is a difference in the way you put them together and how you use them. A boosted post, if you haven't done any Facebook advertising, boosting a post is probably the easiest way to advertise. You look at a post you've already done, one that's doing exceptionally well, an organic post, if you will, and you pay to boost it, to expand the reach of that particular post. Easy to do, cost effective, but there are limitations. You don't get to customize it like you would with a Facebook ad. Now, a Facebook ad allows you to be very specific about who you want to target, what your objective is, what your measurements are. It's a great way to be more specific and intentional, if you will, about what you're doing. There are really three components when you're putting together a Facebook ad, and we're not going to talk about boosted posts at great length because that's pretty simple and easy. It's where Facebook ads are where people kind of get in a little bit of a problem or trouble with because they think, okay, well, it's just like a boosted post. I'm going to just do an ad just like that. And it really takes more planning if you're going to maximize and enhance your results. So the first thing that you do is you have to look at what are your objectives. That's the number one thing you have to do. What are your objectives? Who are your target audiences? And then you also want to look at, how are you going to plan for that? How are you going to measure that? And the last thing you do is create your ad. And Allison, I know you see it with clients all the time. They'll say to us, oh, we have a great idea for an ad. Here it is. But when you say, who's your target audience, who's your demographic, what are your objectives, they haven't really thought much about that.
Planning is so important.
Planning is essential because you can't be everything to everyone. So what we're going to do here is talk about campaign objective. And when you develop an ad for Facebook and you go into your campaign ad manager, the first thing they're going to ask is, what's your objective? What do you want to accomplish with that ad? And you have to think about that. Again, it can't be everything to everyone. It can't simply be, well, we want our phone to ring. You want to be more specific.
There's no way you can reach absolutely everybody. It would be impossible. So the more specific you can be, the better.
So when we look at objectives, you really have three things you can look at here. Awareness, conversion, and consideration. So consideration, conversion, and awareness. Those are the three you choose from. And as you can see in the columns here, it tells you what that accomplishes. So awareness, that's pretty simple. You want to expand your brand. You want people to know who you are. So that could be one of your objectives.
That, I would say, is the most commonly used Facebook ad. So if you've never done an ad before, I would recommend starting with brand awareness.
So for instance, we have some manufacturing clients in more rural areas, and they need workers. And while, yes, they would like to run an ad about needing additional staff, people don't know who they are. So the first phase would maybe be to raise awareness of who they are. And then you want consideration. Maybe you want to increase your lead generation. That would fall under that category. And conversion is when you actually want them to take some action. So for instance, with that company seeking new employees, maybe when they do get to the part where they run ads for positions, you want them to click on that ad and fill out that job application. So there are differences, and it helps for you to define specifically which one you would like to use. You also want to think about how are you going to measure your success. There's a lot of statistics on both Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn's are superior. Allison will talk about that. But you still can have a lot of things you can measure, and you can get kind of lost in all those analytics and all those measurements. So be clear about what you want. So for instance, if I'm raising brand awareness, maybe I want ad lift, which means how many people will remember it a couple days after you run it. Maybe you want conversions, you want links, you want them to click on a link, or you want them to go to your website, or maybe it is pick up the phone. Know how you're going to measure and narrow it down to just a couple that are most important to you. Now, there are two, though, that we tend to use all the time that we add in. You can have more than a few. It's just you don't want this whole big universe out there being used. We always like to look at engagements and likes. Not be all and end all, and those should not be your only two objectives or success measurements.
And Facebook will spell them out for you. They'll provide all this information when it's all said and done, but it's definitely something to take a look at beforehand so you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're looking at success measurements and you want to know, well, what do I measure? You know, it's good to do a little online research too for what is the best practice in your industry, for instance. You can also look at what your competitors do. You won't be able to see their analytics, but you can see how many likes they have, for instance. You can see how engaged people are. That can maybe help you narrow down what you want to do. Next, you determine your budget. Now, you can do a daily budget or you can do a lifetime budget. So you set your budget and say you have $1,000. You might do $100 a day for 10 days, and that's how you set it up. So once you hit that $100, that would be it. Or you can do a lifetime budget of $1,000. Which is better depends on what you're doing, although we tend to like lifetime budgets.
And lifetime doesn't mean all of 2021 and onward. It would be a set date range that you choose. So let's say you want to run an ad from March 1st to March 17th. that is the lifetime of the ad, no matter what. At the end of the day, on March 17th or at 5 o'clock, when you say, I want it to stop, the ad is done running. That's the lifetime of the ad.
And the thing to note is you do have a cap on your budget, so it may be $1,000 cap, but you may not actually use all that budget. For instance, you could, one day nobody clicks through on the link and that was part of your setup, so you didn't have a lot of click-throughs. You're not going to get charged then. It depends on that early setup, how the charging goes. So it is important to kind of figure that out ahead of time. And we do like the lifetime budget because some days you may have more traffic to your site than others. It varies.
Facebook won't just spend your money because they have it. If you know,
I'm sure
might
they'd like to.
they would like to, but they're not just gonna spend that $3 extra if they spend $97.50 instead of $100. They won't just spend it because they can.
And the beauty of social advertising is you can set a budget pretty low to start out and test out things. So that's another great best practice. If you're not quite sure, you can test it out. Once you decide on what your objectives are, what your measurements will be, what your budget is, then determine your target audiences. Now, you can use the same audience that's currently following you and liking your page, and that's fine, but you're not reaching new people. You can choose a lookalike audience. So they'll build an audience for you that looks just like your current audience, but they're people that are not currently following or engaged with you. And that's okay. We really prefer customized audiences. Takes a little more work. You have to be a little more specific. Again, you have to be zeroed in on who you want to reach. But you can do geographic area, you can do job function, industry.
Age, languages spoken, so interests, and all kinds of options.
So we really like building a customized audience based on who you want to reach. Because remember, the purpose of an ad is to reach people, not just who you currently have following you, but you want to reach new people. You want to encourage action for whatever it is that you've decided your objective is. Then you determine your ad schedule. We get a lot of questions about this too. You got your budget, so you know what it is. Do you string it out over 3 days, 20 days? What's the best? Well, Facebook will tell you 3 to 20 days. Our experience really is probably 5 to 10 days. More than 10 days, it's not unlike that billboard you pass on your way to work every day. After a while, you don't pay a lot of attention, and a Facebook ad is the same way. If you keep seeing it day after day after day, you tune it out after a while.
Right, you just keep scrolling through your timeline because you recognize it.
So determine your ad schedule and then go from there. Now we get into the fun part, which everybody likes to go to right away, and it's last on the list, is determining the type of ad that you're going to create. What graphics or video or photos do you have on hand? That's going to help. You decide what you want to do. There are single ads, like you see on the far right here. There are carousel ads, which are the multiple images you see in the middle. There are catalog ads, which are great if you have a lot you want to promote.
Yes, typically this would be used for someone with an online store. I'm sure we've all seen ads from Target and Walmart and Crate and Barrel on our news feeds with the price included. That would be a catalog ad, so a little more specific.
Yeah, and for instance, we have a food product company that will do carousel ads because they have products they want to promote, so it comes up differently every time. You can also do a slideshow, not something we do very often or suggest. Attention spans on social media, very, very small and very brief. So if you're doing a slideshow, unless you can grab them with the first slide or two, you're probably going to lose them. And the same is true for video. It's got to be so compelling. Video is great. Visuals are great. But you have to make it compelling.
Yes, I think a slideshow, if it's short enough to kind of appear like a GIF, that would be effective.
That would be okay.
Yep.
And of course, you can do stories as well. So you have different types of ads to choose. We talk about what works and what doesn't. Creative best practices, a couple of things that you want to think about. About 20 words.
100 characters or
100
so.
characters. really short.
Yes.
I know you often talk about it's less than a tweet.
Less than an old tweet.
Old tweet, yeah, the new tweets. Yeah, less than an old tweet. You need it to be short.
Yep.
It needs to be compelling. It needs to have a clear, concise graphic. You need to grab their attention. And it should have a call to action, hopefully, on that. What do you want them to do when they see this ad? Here's two really great examples of ads that work well. Now, the last item here, minimal emojis. We know people love emojis, but save them for a regular post. Don't put them in an ad.
They are attention grabbing, but if you're going to incorporate them into an ad, only use like 1 or 2 tops.
Yeah, you don't want to overload that ad.
No.
And a couple of other things to consider. Make sure the links that you use are good links, that they work.
Yeah.
We see this a lot,
Yes.
that people put links in and they don't work.
Or
Well,
they don't make sense.
Or they don't make sense. You know, you want to also think about mobile versus desktop. Now, this ad that you're seeing on the screen is from Canva. If you're already doing social media and you're doing ads, you're probably using Canva. There's a free version that's great. There's a paid version that's even better. But Canva does some great things, and yet here's an example of an ad that failed.
Yes, they did a few things wrong, but I mean, as great as Canva is, and as much as we recommend it to clients and use it ourselves, this ad isn't perfect. This was viewed on desktop, but it was clearly designed for mobile because of it being square and the black on the sides. Also, the copy doesn't quite make sense. The call to action refers to the offer in the copy, but in the headline portion, it talks about a free trial. They don't add up.
No, they don't add up. So everybody can go wrong now and then, and that's also why you want to take a look at the ad as a whole. Does it make sense for what you're doing? Go back to those objectives, your target audiences, what you want them to do. A good social ad campaign is like any other ad campaign. It takes thought and planning. So, you know, this is true also for LinkedIn. And I know with the amount of LinkedIn ads that you've been doing, you have some great insight to share with people. I'm going to hand off the clicker to you.
Thank you. Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're in the business world, you should be on LinkedIn, both with a personal profile and for your business. Certainly, you can't have a LinkedIn ad without having a business profile. So that would be the first step to getting that set up. And there are some great free resources online if you're not sure quite how to do that. There are plenty of companies in the world that are already using LinkedIn. There are over 30 million and 675 million active monthly users. Certainly plenty potential audience to reach, especially if you know who you want to reach. And a lot of great key decision makers there as well. So who is on LinkedIn? Well, roughly a third would be considered both Gen Z and millennials. They're probably there networking, building connections, maybe using the job search feature if they're looking, but they're also young entrepreneurs. That could also fall under the 30 to 49-year-old category as well, but also established entrepreneurs, business owners, still connecting and getting to know people in the business community.
And it really is the key that this is focused on business, which is why we really love it for M&A, professional services firms. You can cut through a lot of the other types of audiences knowing that you're really going to be hitting on some of your key targets.
Yes, and the older category, who you're probably going to want to target the most in your ads.
If you're looking for somebody who wants to sell or buy businesses.
Correct, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So plenty of people there to target, and you just have to know who you want to attract. So why LinkedIn ads? Well, because it's a business platform, it should be used first and foremost for promoting your business. This could be your services. If you have products to sell, you could market an event you have coming up. Certainly a job promotion as well, but in the instance of the M&A world, certainly attracting other business owners who might be interested in buying or selling, sharing your expertise in a video or a blog, promoting businesses as well.
Sharing your expertise is so important on LinkedIn because it really does let others know who you are and what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. So plenty of connections to build and plenty of options to choose from as well on what you can promote. But before you get started, like Susan mentioned with Facebook ads, you want to establish your goals and your objective. What do you want this ad to be? You have to decide that ahead of time. Planning is so important in Facebook and LinkedIn ads. And determining those measures of success. I love LinkedIn analytics because they're so specific. We'll get into that on the next slide.
And really, they are the best analytics of any social platform, at least for now.
If you think about it, when you're initially creating your personal profile or your business profile, it's a lot like your resume. And just a side note, if you don't know what to add to your LinkedIn profile, if it's on your resume, it should be on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, definitely.
But LinkedIn pulls all that information together, and that gets contributed to the analytics.
There is just this rich amount of information that allows you to target your audiences better than anywhere else.
Yes, so there's certainly, a lot to choose from. But what can you learn about your audience through analytics, both for your followers, those who actively like your business page, and from those who are just visiting? LinkedIn provides that information for both, breaking down who these people are, their level of seniority, where they live.
And I should add, it's important to look at that before you develop your ad campaign, just like with Facebook. You need to understand who's there now, but you also want to know who do you want to go after.
And it really shows too, if you're reaching your target audience. Let's say you want to attract established business owners who are maybe senior level or maybe, I'm trying to think of it.
Well, I've seen you in specific positions, such as maybe it's an accounting position, a CFO, a CMO. It could be the CEO. Maybe you want to reach engineers.
Yes.
There's all those areas you can
But then you
figure
notice
out.
from looking at your analytics that they're recent college graduates, they're entry level. It'll kind of go to show maybe you're not quite hitting the mark. So just another way to point you in the right direction.
And that means you need to adjust your content, your copy, and it will help guide your ad campaign.
So when you're starting out creating your ad campaign, just like Facebook ads, you need to choose an objective, and there are the same 3 main category types for you to choose from: awareness, consideration, and conversion. There is one type of awareness ad on LinkedIn that's brand awareness. I like to say that's like, hi, this is who our business is. Just general get to know us and expand, similar to reach. Consideration ads, you want someone to take an action, particularly if it's driving traffic to your website. Maybe it's video views. A video view is considered after 3 seconds. So you really want to capture someone's attention right away, otherwise it won't count. But also engagement, which would be liking the post or ad. Will they follow your page based on your ad? All of that slowly adds up and is considered engagement. So that would be the objective for that type of consideration ad. A conversion ad is taking an action after that initial engagement. So not only do you want to drive traffic to the website, but maybe you want them to click on some other links once they're there as well.
So for instance, you have a white paper about the type of service that you offer or the industry you're in. Maybe it's industry trends in 2021. Being the first of the year and early in the year, people want to know, what do they see as the trends? So you drive them to your website, you get them to click and register to get that white paper from you. So it gives you information about who they are.
Yes, and speaking of information about who they are, if you choose the conversion or the leads objective, that will autofill their information from their profile. So they say, hi, the information in my profile would say Allison Barnes, Leonard and Finco Public Relations. It would probably pull my email address, maybe my phone number. I just say, yes, LinkedIn, that's all correct. You can send it to this M&A firm to add to their distribution list. Same goes for job ads, pulling your information, again, like your resume, and sends it off for that job applicant. So once you've chosen your objective, you'll need to choose what type of ad you would like to do. There are about 6 types of LinkedIn ads. We'll be focusing on 4 because those are the 4 most commonly used types of ads. So really the most important options to choose from. Beginning with sponsored content, which would appear in your newsfeed most typically. Sponsored and we'll dive into each of these a little bit more, but sponsored in-mail, that would appear in your inbox like a message, very wordy, and a lot like an
letter.
email. It's like a formal letter.
Yes.
And then text ads are very short and to the point, even shorter than a tweet. We'll get to that as well, typically driving traffic to websites. And dynamic ads are, last but not least, they are so unique across any social media platform ad, and you'll see why in a couple slides. But diving a little bit more first into sponsored content. So as you can see from our example, we pulled this ad from Cornerstone Business Services promoting this very conference. This is a sponsored content ad. It appeared in my LinkedIn newsfeed. As you can see from the top, it clearly identifies who the ad is from, and then it's a promoted post, linking to the website for more information, but also to register.
To convert that into a registration.
Yes, so plenty of information to provide. You could use this option at any point in the sales process. Again, for an image, to link to a website, a video, you can do a carousel ad and even do different links per photo. That's allowed as well. So there's plenty of options to choose from and a great ad to start with if you're just kind of giving it a try for the first time. So sponsored email, like Susan said, it's very formal, it's very long. This will only appear to the audience while they're logged in to LinkedIn. So for example, let's say I log in and a minute from now, I get a message saying that I have a new email message and it's an ad. Well, because they know that I'm actively logged in, that's why this message appeared. The example here I received in my LinkedIn a few weeks ago from Indiana University, promoting a business degree of some sort. As you can see, there's a clear call to action at both the top and the bottom of the message in Learn More, but also how to find more contact information to learn more. You can attach an infographic, a brochure, a PDF, all kinds of things. It's really like an email.
And many of our clients will use InMail, sponsored InMail, to reach a specific person or job type. So for instance, in the M&A world, you may do InMail to the CEOs of companies to say, are you thinking of selling? Are you thinking of buying or acquiring a business? Or we have a business that's related to your business. Would you like to expand your footprint? We also have clients who use it reaching out to supply chain people saying, we have this product that you might be interested in. So there's a lot of good uses for it. Even though it is personal, you still have to convey a sense of purpose and what is in it for them as well.
Yep, and not that everyone is getting the same message either. So next is text ads. This typically appears on the right-hand side of your news feed. It just directs to a website, so be strategic in what URL you choose and you want to link it to. You either pay per click to the website or impression, which means how many people saw it. Again, you want to be very, very short. The headline has to be less than 25 characters and the description below has to be less than 75. So how can you capture someone's attention in 100 characters or less? You have to be straight and to the point. Typically with this type of ad, we recommend drafting about 4 or 5 copy options before you get started, just because you don't know once you get it onto LinkedIn, maybe it's a little too long. So to pay attention to that ahead of time.
And you have 3 on the screen right now. The top one is the best of those 3 that showed up. And it's the best because it's very short and to the point about if you want to be a Wisconsin contractor, a government contractor, click here. We have information on how you can do that. You see the name of the company to the left of the ad copy. The one below it is very vague about business services. Well, there's a million different types of business services.
Could be anything.
It could be anything, and you don't know what company it is. So I'm not going to click on something that doesn't, A, grab me, and B, I have no idea what it's really about.
Or what it's linking to.
Right.
You don't know
what
what
it's
you're
linking to.
about to step into.
Exactly.
So when you're setting this up, the best option for the photo would just be your business logo. Full transparency, who this is coming from, what they're getting into, what they're about to click on. Again, how can you capture their attention in just a few short words and go directly where you want them to learn more. And last but not least are dynamic ads. These are great options for promoting the business to follow on LinkedIn. If you want to do a job ad or again, linking to their website. Now, what's so unique about the dynamic ad.
And a little bit creepy.
And a little creepy.
A little creepy.
That's totally different than any other Facebook or social media ad in general. It will pull the audience's profile picture and insert it into the ad. So you're scrolling through LinkedIn and all of a sudden you're looking back at yourself, which is so creepy, but yet it's only appearing to you. So this ad from Alliance Laundry Systems, if Susan had been logged into LinkedIn, her profile photo would have been pulled into the option, not mine. I was once giving this presentation and someone asked, wow, I can't believe you gave that company's permission to use you as a model in their ad. And I said, no, because this ad was only shown to me. That's why my photo was used in it. So again, just a very unique way to capture the audience's attention and to share.
Yeah, and I will say the dynamic ads in the InMail are so different than any other type of social media ad because it can be customized down to the person.
Yes, so specific. So now that you know what kind of ad you want to choose, how do you set it up? Well, LinkedIn has a great campaign manager that's very similar in setup to Facebook Ads Manager as well. To access it, on the upper right-hand side of your profile when you're logged in, there will be a drop-down menu that says work and a little target and bullseye that says advertise. Just click on that and it'll bring you to campaign manager. This is where you literally get it started.
Where you build it. And we do not recommend you do this first. Do the other steps first. Decide your objective, decide your audience, decide what you want to accomplish and what it's going to look like. And then when you get in here, this won't be overwhelming and you'll know which way you're going. If you want to maximize the value you're getting out of your ads, that pre-planning is essential before you get to this step.
Absolutely, because even if you know all of that stuff ahead of time, looking at it all can still be overwhelming, especially if you have it all planned out. You just don't want to miss any steps. That's a lie. So then once the ad is all said and done and set up, you've found your audience and you've added the copy and whatnot, what does the published ad look like? Well, again, here's our example from Cornerstone. It will appear on your business profile.
Which is different than Facebook. Facebook, if you're running a straight ad, does not show up on your Facebook page, whereas with LinkedIn it will.
Yes. So the ad will appear on your business profile under the ad section. It'll stay there for about a year, and you can't take it down. So, but again, it's just a level of transparency. And for those who might be visiting your profile months later, they might see the ad and say, oh, last February they had a conference. Maybe that'll be happening again in 2022. I should keep that on my radar and check back or follow the page to know when it's happening again. So just another layer of transparency for ads.
So really when you're building your ads, there are 3 takeaways we want you to remember from today's presentation. And we talk about planning, but start with the one size doesn't fit all. When we talk about what do you want to accomplish, It isn't just that objective, it's understanding you can't be everything to everyone. And so often this is where ads go off rail, they aren't successful, they end up not being worth the time it takes to develop them if you don't have a specific audience in mind and you haven't planned. You have to plan. You know, people say, oh, I'll just boost a post or I'll just throw together an ad. You might succeed once, but most times you're not going to be very successful.
Or it won't be effective.
Right.
Yeah. So again, like Susan said, planning is so important, not just for knowing who you want to target ahead of time, but also knowing what media do I want to use, what messages do I want to say, how am I going to word that messaging, who specifically do I want to target, to know all of that ahead of time, what your budget is, when you want it to run. Putting together an ad plan is so important, not just for knowing ahead of time, but also looking back and knowing what worked and what didn't, which you can learn through the analytics. Analytics are so important to look at before, during, while the ad is running, and after, what you can learn from the ad.
Don't be afraid if the analytics aren't lining up with what you're hoping to accomplish, you can pull an ad.
You can, and you can sometimes pause the ad while it's running and adjust it. It's a lot easier on Facebook, but then you have to go through the approval process again, so it might adjust the budget or the time frame, but you live and learn.
If you do all your work ahead of time and you do your planning, you generally will not need to do that.
Right, you'll be fine. So we threw a lot of information at you in a short amount of time, but there's certainly a lot more you can learn from. Both LinkedIn and Facebook have some great free options for businesses to learn more in both Facebook Blueprint, Facebook Ads Manager, and on the LinkedIn platform itself.
And you can always go online and look at YouTube. There are tutorials about everything. They can be of some help as well.
Mm-hmm. When in doubt, just Google it.
Yeah. And you can always feel free to give us a call or contact us. Our emails are up on the screen. Happy to answer your questions in the future, as well as during our Q&A session a little later today. We hope you come back and join us for that. We'll be available to answer any questions you have. We know it sounds like it's a lot and it sounds like it's difficult, but if you take your time and you do your planning, you can really maximize the results that you're getting from your social ads.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.